With the decade of the 60s, drag racing became a national sport. It was an exciting period when ingenuity reigned supreme. As drag racing grew in prestige, crowds grew proportionately, and modern, up-to-date racing facilities were constructed to meet the demands. Quarter-mile drag racing came of age. It is not uncommon for championship events to draw 100,000 spectators to places like Indianapolis Raceway Park, Ontario, California, or Montreal, Canada. Using exotic fuels had been banned in the early part of the 60s, but by 1964, fuel again became the key to going fast. The 200-mile-per-hour barrier was broken, and names like Garlits and Prudhomme captured the headlines. Drag race drivers began to look like men from outer space. Special fireproof driving suits, full face hoods, fireproof boots and gloves were used. Today's professional drag racer has genuine affection for the pioneers of the 60s. Not all mechanical milestones are limited to the racetrack. Here, Don Prudhomme gets a first-hand look at the world's wildest street machine. This Corvette is powered by a Pratt & Whitney single-stage gas turbine running on jet fuel and producing 880 horsepower with a top speed of 180 miles per hour. Built by Vince Granatelli, it took 2.5 years to complete and is valued at over $550,000. Riding in this machine is a stimulating experience. The power produced is awesome. Granatelli preserved a bit of history with his creation. The jet engine is the same power plant used in the famous STP Indy Racer. In somewhat of a carnival atmosphere, major manufacturers of performance products set up runways at major events so that fans can walk through and see products up close and talk to experts about the use of these products. From this identification between manufacturer and enthusiast, drag racing has grown by leaps and bounds over the past 10 years. What was once a backyard hobby of hot rodders is now a multi-million-dollar business benefiting the entire automotive industry. Drag racing became a test bed for every type of engine part. In the future, automakers may look to the performance market to find ways of solving the problems of fuel efficiency and how to get the most from compact vehicles with smaller power plants. Sponsors also poured much-needed funds in the form of sponsorship and prize money into drag racing. With something to run for, professional racers soon turned a hobby into a business, and the speeds and the show got better. Products used by professional drag racers eventually find their way from racetracks to highways. Performance enthusiasts buy and use products that are race-proven to increase the performance of their own personal vehicle. Don the Snake Prudhomme is the winningest driver in drag racing history. Only the great Big Daddy Don Garlits is as renowned as the Snake. Prudhomme is tall, lean, and quiet. His interest in racing machines began in his father's auto shop in the early 60s. He graduated quickly to Top Fuel and became the terror of California drag strips. From the west, he headed east, and at the wheel of Roland Leong's Hawaiian Fueler began his climb to the top. Prudhomme has won more major event victories than any other driver, has qualified first more than anyone, and has the most consecutive world championships and the most funny car victories. Prudhomme has been a champion in both of the fastest classes in drag racing, Top Fuel and Funny Car. Don talks about his beginnings and the safety of drag racing.
The way I got started drag racing was strictly for the love of the automobile. And in those days it was hot rods in the streets, roadsters and the coupes and the 32s and so on. And that was a big thing. It was a big part of my life. I love cars, and it just kind of went on from there. I competed against Don Garlits for several years. It was really something in those days, competing against him and that group of racers like Tom McEwen, And I still, to this day, we still battle it out just about every week. Way back then, we competed on the streets. Yeah, that was the most easiest thing to do. But then, of course, they started building up in the areas, and it did get quite dangerous to do on the streets because we started going faster and faster. And we started learning about rules and regulations and things like that, and safety belts and helmets. And none of us realized how dangerous it was or how dangerous it could be. We started tinkering around with all these parts and pieces and more nitro and more supercharger and more bigger blowers and better equipment. I mean, we've really got a monster on our hands right now. A lot of horsepower.
From his shop in Granada Hills, California, Prudhomme runs his racing career as a business, dealing with sponsors, booking dates and major championship events across the country. The Snake strikes 45 or 50 times in a season, running both point events and match races. Considered uptight at the races, Prudhomme says he just takes his job very seriously. Setting records nearly every time his car speeds down a racetrack is definitely serious work.
I think drag racing is a very, very safe sport. The amount of cars that go up and down the track week after week, it's very safe. But I'll guarantee you one thing, I would not get in that race car and travel 240, 250 miles an hour if I didn't think it was safe. Drag racing, in my opinion, my race cars are as safe as they possibly can be.
The third most popular professional drag racing class is the Pro Stockers, and the winningest driver of all time is Bob Glidden. Glidden has won more world championships than any other driver in history. One of the true diehards of the sport of drag racing is Dino Don Nicholson. Dino began winning national events as far back as 1961. Proving that an old fox can win races, Nicholson still has the reflexes of a teenager. After a spectacular crash in '79, Dino Don came right back with a new Ford Mustang and went to war cutting elapsed times in the 840s over 150 miles per hour. Snoozes, loses. You've got to be quick to win a drag race, and Indiana's Bob Glidden wins a lot. Glidden has won scores at national events, tied with Prudhomme for the most major victories in a season, and has qualified #1 more than any other pro stock driver.